Hi everyone, it's Kelly from the Hub. Here today, of course, with our friend Roberta from the WellSpan Health System. Hello, friend.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Kelly.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How
Good.
can you not be wonderful on a 70-degree day with sunshine, blue skies, trees turning color? It's just been a gorgeous week.
It
Really
absolutely
good.
has. I absolutely love it. Remember, Roberta is our friend who talks about horizon planning, the WellSpan words for end of life stuff. We've been talking about lots of these things and trying to make it easier for everybody who's watching so that you can plan ahead so that when stuff happens at the end, everything's planned and organized and you can just follow the procedures that you've talked about, that you've shared with everybody, and that everything is, cross your fingers, easier. So today's conversation is about one piece of paper. And anybody who's in the health profession knows this. You know what it's called. You love seeing it. Well, because it's everything you need. It's called the POLST, POLST, which is an acronym. And ta-da-da, Roberta's going to show it to us. Cha-cha! It's always bright pink, and if it's not bright pink, it needs to be, so you should tell a healthcare professional, make this pink, and they know what that means. So you should do all the stuff because, like, what is the POLST? Why is it good? Why don't people follow it sometimes? How is it misunderstood? All that stuff. Far away.
All right. So the POLST stands for Pennsylvania Physician Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. And it is bright pink cardboard stock. So it's not a light pink piece of paper. It is a bright pink cardboard stock form in Pennsylvania. So if you go to another state, it might be bright green, it might be yellow. In Maryland, it's just a black and white piece of paper called a MOLST, so a Maryland Order for Life-Sustaining Treatment. And it's really a national paradigm, Kelly. So what has happened is we have a national organization called National POLST, and probably about 15 years ago now, people were realizing that in the last year of life, when you're terminally ill or treatments are no longer working for whatever disease you have, or because of age and frailty, no one would be surprised if you would die in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yep.
And we didn't have a document that ambulance staff could use to provide you with the care that you've chosen that you want for yourself. In most states, ambulance care is just like hospital care. Any medical care is highly regulated. And so when you are picked up in an emergency by an ambulance and taken to the ER, they cannot use your living will. Only the hospital and the emergency room can use your living will.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important to do your living will throughout your whole life, even if you're in the last year of your life, to have your living will, to have your durable power of attorney for health care. Have those documents with your provider, with your primary care office, with your hospital, with all the hospitals in your area, so that wherever that ambulance takes you, they immediately know what you want for care if you're in an end-of-life situation. So for somebody in that last year of life, this physician order is what the ambulance staff can recognize through their medical command. And this is a document that's put right by your front door or on your refrigerator. I've heard some people say they put it in the freezer, which I'm not sure why, but maybe on the freezer door.
Oh, okay.
Not inside. Some people are putting it in the freezer. I don't know where they heard that, to put it in the freezer, on the freezer door, right, on your refrigerator, yes, by your front door. Yep. Because that's where emergency medical staff are trained to look for it. But here's the thing, we need to understand what a POLST does and what it says, and so do our durable powers of attorney, our healthcare agents. They need to know. I had a situation where a father and son made the decision to have a POLST, and the father said, comfort care only. I don't want to be taken to the hospital. I don't want surgery. I'm just kind of done with my illness. But they needed something just to stabilize that father. And they called 911 and they showed them the POLST. And unfortunately, that emergency medical staff would not recognize the POLST and didn't understand it. And they started fighting with the father and the son. And the father kept saying, I'm not going to the hospital. Please, I don't want to. You called us, you have to. No, they don't have to transport. They can stabilize, and then you call hospice.
Yep.
Hopefully by then the person is in hospice care at the last 6 months of life. That's when hospice is so valuable. And then you have hospice follow up with whatever additional medical care is needed. Mm-hmm. So what the POLST does is the POLST, for all of those medical options we put in our living will. So if you don't want to be resuscitated, you can say on the POLST DNR, but you can also say, I want CPR.
Yep.
If you don't want to be intubated, you can say, don't intubate. Now, you're not going to be put on a ventilator in an ambulance. You're only going to be intubated.
Right, there's still
you don't want to be intubated,
tube in and then squeeze the bag.
That's it, that plastic tube. Then you'd be potentially put on a ventilator at the hospital. But if you don't want to be intubated as you're being transported, that's part of what this says. The document also says, I want full treatment. I want everything aggressively done. I want limited treatment. So I might go to the hospital, but these are things I don't want you to do. So if you're transporting me and I have a cardiac arrest and I say DNR, I'm in the last year of life, I have that option. I have that choice if I'm closer to an end of life crisis. It talks about antibiotics. It talks about surgery. And this is a discussion that you have either with your physician or with your advanced practice clinician, a physician assistant or a nurse practitioner. They have to co-sign it after their conversation with you. But this too is one document that is very important for people who have a healthcare agent who may have dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yep. So
this is one of the places where you absolutely, if you have any risk of having dementia and Alzheimer's, we absolutely, absolutely want you to have a durable power of attorney for healthcare, because they can fill out this document on your behalf with your physician or your advanced practice clinician or provider. A chaplain, a nurse, a social worker, even myself, I don't have any of those degrees, but I can have the conversation with the patient. I can help the patient fill this out. I can help the healthcare agent fill this out and then get a physician to sign it.
Yep.
I often have physicians kind of who know I'm skilled at having these conversations, and so they know I will have covered everything and they will co-sign it for me. It's always preferable to have somebody that you know, that you're aware of. So everything that's on here gives you the opportunity to let emergency medical staff know exactly what you want. Now, some skilled nursing facilities in our area decide that this is required on admission to their facility, even if you're 80 years old and still running the Boston Marathon.
Right.
It's not appropriate. It's not necessary. Those facilities should be asking you to complete your living will and your durable power of attorney for health care. And it's an educational process that I'm working on. I'm not going to be able to undo their policies if that's what they're going to require, but I just keep wanting to educate the public that it's not necessary. Please do your advanced directives. And then in that last year of life, when you need a POLST, a physician order for life-sustaining treatment, then work with the staff at that skilled nursing facility to get that document, or with your primary care provider. And in the hospital, before you're discharged from the hospital, if you come in with a POLST, you should leave with that same document unless you decide you want to change it. So some people go from full treatment to limited treatment, and then from limited treatment to comfort care. As your disease progresses, you're going to change this document just like you would your living will.
Yep.
And the thing is, if you don't have a healthcare agent and you cannot speak for yourself, there is no one who can create this for you and have it be legal. It does say on it who's filled this out. A healthcare representative. That's fine, but you have to go to court to make any changes.
Yep.
A court-appointed guardian, that's fine, but that person has to go to court to make any changes. It's only your healthcare agent who can fill it out, who can change it without having to go to court for that. We also recommend that you have a wallet card. So there is a wallet card that comes with the POLST if it's provided by your facility. In our facilities, it is. We put a wallet card with it so that you can have this in your wallet. You can also, just like I've said in other sessions, Kelly, keep a copy of a POLST in your car.
Yep.
So you can have two created. You can have one at home. You can have one in your car so that if you need it, it's there. But also with a wallet card, says what are the medical options. It's signed by your physician or advanced practice provider and by you. And so the EMTs can use this as well. The pink form we have in English and Spanish. This form is only in English because most of the EMTs are English speaking. And if you need more information, we do have a POLST brochure. We do have a brochure on the Maryland order for life-sustaining treatment. And we have those documents available because we serve in WellSpan, we serve Maryland patients. We actually have a practice close to Maryland in Chancellor Township in York County. We have Thurmont Family Medicine in Thurmont, Maryland. So we have a couple of practices, and then oftentimes we'll have patients that come into Gettysburg, Adams County that visit some of our practices, and they're Maryland residents. And so we want to make sure they have the right document. Now, your living will travels with you. The problem with the POLST is many states say if you have a POLST, you have to get our POLST if you're going to travel and have it be recognized. So the POLST is not recognized everywhere like a living will is.
Yeah, we had several patients that even though they were on hospice, they were still snowbirds. So they spent a chunk of their time in Florida or Georgia and then spent the rest of their time in Pennsylvania. And they had two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a document that if you travel to visit family and you have a POLST in Pennsylvania, you want to find out what the document is for that state. Now you can look up POLST on the internet because it's a national paradigm and there's a national organization and they have the link to every state's documents. So it's an easy way to find the document for another state. The difficulty would be, how do you make it legal? So
right.
You'd have to find a health professional in that state in order to do the signatures and have the conversation with them. Sometimes that's more difficult than not, but if you've got family that you're going to visit, then you've got that opportunity too. All of this is on WellSpan's website. So wellspan.org/horizon planning. You can even do wellspan.org/POLST. And it will take you to that section of our website so that you can see all the information available. And this doesn't change from site to site, or health system to health system. So right. UPMC is going to have this bright pink.
Right, it's the exact same document. It doesn't,
across the state.
Nothing different. Yep.
Yeah. Unlike the living will, which you can write on a napkin.
Yeah.
Sign, date, and have two witnesses. The POLST, you have to have this particular document.
Yeah.
I
love it. It can be complicated sometimes to walk through it with family members, just because lots of times when they're faced with the POLST, if they haven't, well, most of those people have not done their living will, and so then they're trying to make for them, split-second decisions when they don't want to. And it can be a little complicated and a little overwhelming. And sometimes they say yes to things that they don't really want and say no to things that they should have changed. And so sometimes you got to do that form and then go back a couple days and do that form over again. And that's okay. But having that as a one-pager, if you have nothing else, can be helpful. It's much better to have all your living will stuff done, because that's much more detail, and you're right, it's thorough, but in transport.
This is perfect. Yeah, perfect. Some people think there's an expiration date on the POLST, Kelly, and there is none.
No.
So the only expiration date is when you want to change it.
Right.
When your health has changed, your situation has changed, you want to change it. And again, conversation with who's representing you, who is the person you trust, who's going to speak for you, having them understand what you've chosen, why you've chosen it. And then when you get to a POLST, if it's different from your living will, you're going to want to update your living will so that they say the same thing. So there's no confusion about what we're doing. And it'll always be the latest date on the document. So if my living will says 1990 on it and my POLST says 2020, we'll use the POLST for everything, because we'll know that's your latest wishes and you just haven't quite gotten to that other document to update it.
And everybody has a story where let's look at the date.
Yeah.
Is really the crux of the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we always talk about, it's almost mid-October. So if Halloween or, All Hallows Eve or All Saints Day is your favorite time to get together as a family, you could have bobbing for healthcare agents. I don't know. Or,
You can pick a name out of a hat and see if they're a ghost or a goblin or somebody you really would like to have around.
Right. You could carve pumpkins and talk about your living will wishes. Talk about your 5 wishes while you're having a family apple picking time.
That's it.
I mean, truly, anytime you choose for it is the right time. So
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be, a random Saturday, or it could be. But if you're all together, I mean, now that have been talking with you about this on a regular basis, I see families when I'm driving around or something, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if they've talked about their living will. I mean, because I'm like, oh, look, they're all together. Now would be a very good time for that. Or I'm like, oh, I hope that they're thinking about that. And I hope that people who are watching this are feeling the same way. Like, well, we're getting closer to it, but look, I bet that family's talked about their 5 wishes together. So remember, lots of resources out there. You can contact me and I can get some for you. You can contact Roberta and she can mail them out. However it works, as long as you have the conversation, that's the most important part.
Yep. And again, our website, wellspan.org, you can go and order packets for free. If you need a POLST, call me, I'll send them out. And if you need somebody to sit with you and walk through this, you can contact me for that as well. I have staff who can follow up with you, answer your questions, get you the documents, even talk with you through the whole document and help you fill it out. So
and you can do it virtually. Everything. You can do it sitting next to each other, with your masks on, socially distanced, whatever works best for you to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so critical. And as we move further into fall and winter, we're inside more, we're more at risk for COVID. This is something critically important to do before you might succumb to that.
Yep.
Terrible disease.
So when all the kids are getting ready for Halloween for your trunk or treat event that you're having, also talk about your 5 wishes.
That's it. Kelly, you're the best.
I do what I can.
You're my champion. I just love it. I'm so glad we met and we're doing this.
It's easier than you think it is. Once you have it in your brain and you let it sit there and marinate, you say, if this is the hardest conversation that I'm ever going to have in my whole life.
It can be very fun. It can be full of laughs.
Right. There can be a lot harder conversations that you have than this.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, if you haven't done this and you're in that end of life crisis and you're not talking and your family is having to make all of those decisions and they're fighting over it,
Yeah. Oh,
that's the hardest decision in
yeah.
the world and the
Right. And
most
do you want your family to do
damaging.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very damaging to families.
Yeah.
So this is so important. And we're here, everybody in healthcare is here to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
you're the
will see you
best.
next week when it's still beautiful fall outside.
Oh, I know. 78 on the weekend, so enjoy. Enjoy it all.
See you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.